Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to the SFC interviews here with former Stevenage Striker Mark Bridge. Obviously, come through the youth team and then had a few games in the seniors as well. So, yeah, just tell us a bit about, I guess, sort of how old you were when you started to break through, and then, sort of how it all went from when you were breaking through from the youth team to the seniors as well.
Well, I was 17, I think it was, when I started getting involved with the first team. I started in the School of Excellence, which
Yeah.
I think I would have been about 13 or 14.
Okay.
It was all new in the town. Stevenage obviously just won what was the conference, but obviously didn't get promoted. And then there was a massive push about getting youth football going properly with Stevenage.
Yeah.
And we were lucky that our PE teacher was Dave Venables, who used to play.
Okay. Yes, of course. Yeah.
And he sort of went like, there's these trials coming up for this new School of Excellence. So from the age of 14, I was involved. And then, like I say, went to EFCO, got in EFCO, and then, started training when I was about 17. Not officially, not ever invited properly.
Yeah.
I sort of blagged my way in. I used to go up. I was terrible. I spoke to you about it. I was used to watch Stevenage all the time, and once I got into EFCO, I used to sneak in and try and help the kit man. Can I put out kit? Can I do the boots? Can I join him?
Just to be in and around,
taking stuff up to training.
in and around.
Oh yeah, straight from the first year in EFCO, and then I started. Paul Fairclough started saying, "Oh, why don't you come and help sort of kit out for home games?" And then it was, "Why don't you come and help with away games?"
Yeah.
And it was, "Why don't you come up to training?" And it was like, "Oh, while you're here, you might as well put your boots on." Yeah, and it just went from there. But yeah, for me, it was amazing. Like I say, growing up in Stevenage, I used to go and watch him in the Deodora League, and then come up to the conference, and obviously going through, and then obviously being able to play was amazing for me.
And obviously, you said there about watching the team as well through the Deodora leagues, and sort of the progression up through the leagues a little bit as well. So what was that like to obviously watch it from a fan's perspective and to see some of those great players as well?
Oh, there were some unbelievable players, really. It was great. I mean, we spoke before. I'm a Tottenham fan, but getting down to Tottenham weren't the easiest. If my uncle weren't about, we couldn't go down. So the next best thing was Stevenage. And then, like I said, when we started the School of Excellence, we were all given the season tickets. We was like, oh, might as well make good with them and start going down. And obviously, having a PE teacher that was part of the squad, we started going down. And obviously, like I said, I would have been probably sort of 12, 13. So you had the likes of Barry Howes, Effie Soji. You had then obviously Des Gallagher in goal. Like obviously Dave Venables. You had Brian Steen. All these players. Like you, I mean, I spoke to people about it recently. Obviously, I was speaking to you, and some people don't even know these players. Like Steve Burrowclough. Who else was you? Richard Nugent. All of them. I mean, I remember there was a lad called Kenny Webster, left back.
I remember the name.
Yeah, fires were massive. So, like I say, for me, coming through, and obviously I didn't even mention Martin Gittins. He was someone that I didn't see much of live football, and then when I started watching it more and more, you see Martin Gittins scoring all these goals. You're thinking, this guy knows how to score goals. So, obviously getting a chance to then play in the School of Excellence, then going to EFCO, and then being able to be asked to be involved in the first team and then the reserves, and then you're thinking, oh, this could be it. And then when you get that contract to come up and play, I remember going home and telling my mum then told my uncle, who then told me nan, who told granddad, and then before you knew it, all my family knew all about it. And then the first game, they were all there in the corner where we always used to stand. So it was great.
And of course, you said there about your family as well, and how much of an impact they had, and how much of a part they played as well. When when you were talking to me, when we were speaking about it the other day, you said that they were at, I think every game that you played at, whether it was reserves or youth or first team, and when you're on the bench and stuff as well, they were always there to support as well, which is obviously a massive thing to have.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, my mum, bless her, she used to stand there, obviously, when you're a kid in the freezing cold, every single game. Used to walk me to and from all the games, wherever it was, all around Stevenage. And I always remember you telling her, "Don't worry, one day I'll have you a nice box, and you'll be able to stay warm, and you can watch me in a box." Obviously, never got that way, but was able to sit in the stand rather than standing on a freezing cold sideline. So, it was amazing to be able to do that. Like I say, we used to go down with our family to watch it abroad away when it looked nothing like what it does now.
No,
I remember there used to be a sand pit where the main stand is, down where the burger bar was. There was a sand pit down there. When we were first used to go down, that's where we used to play. We used to do long jump into this sand pit.
Oh wow!
So like I say, we used to go quite a lot. My nan used to go down with a white coat on, and we used to be a running joke that Paul Fairclough would know who she was because she wore this white coat. Which he probably never did, and I never really had the conversation with him ever to say, I don't suppose you remember me now with that white coat. But like I say, for us,
it's basically for you and for your family. That was like the Paul Fairclough jumper joke. Obviously, Paul was jumper, right?
It was, exactly that. Like I say, we grew up in Stevenage, and it was hard to go down to London and watch Tottenham. It was expensive, it was time consuming, and we had a team just on the doorstep that. I mean, I love football. I think I said to you, I hate watching it. Really, I do watch it. It frustrates the life out of me. But when you're a kid and you get the chance to watch live football, and luckily for me, they were giving me it for free. Why not? It was fantastic. Like I say, I got the chance to see some of these players. Then, luckily, as I got older, I got a chance to know them, call them friends, especially people like Smudge. I remember. That first conversation I ever had with him, it's weird because he's such a nice guy. But for me, I was a bit starstruck thinking, I've watched this guy now for the last 15 years of my life. Like, I'm going to talk to him and then share a room with him and then call him, like I say, call him a friend, go out and have a drink.
He was captain, wasn't he, as well at that time?
Sorry?
Was he the captain as well?
It would have been. He would have been the skipper. Him and Robin Trott. They were the two leaders of the team. But Smudge was always the legend. What a top guy.
And obviously, we'll touch on when you started breaking through and some of the games that you were involved in and stuff in a minute. But you were saying there that you obviously don't really like watching the game. Are you quite, sort of when you're watching the game, do you sort of analyse quite a lot of the moves and the styles of play, or what is it like?
It's just terrible. If it's a team that I want to win, like say with Tottenham and England, and if I ever get a chance to go as much Stevenage, it frustrates me when you think that they're better than what they are, and why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? And then when it's other games where I've got no interest in it all, it just frustrates me. You're sitting there watching it thinking, why are you doing that? And my son, bless him, he has to have it in my ear roll going, oh, if he'd have done this and he'd have done that, and he's probably thinking, I just want to watch the game, Dad, shut up. But no, that's just how I am. I've always been the same way. Watching live football is a lot better than watching on TV. You get the atmosphere, and I mean, like I say, you go down to Stevenage, it's a bit better because you can take it in a bit better because you're closer than you're ever going to be in a Premier League game. So like I say, that's just me in football. I love it at the same time as I hate it, and at the same time I loathe it, and then I love it again. So I think most people are like it really. When if you deep down you love football but you hate football.
Yeah, and we were talking about before some of the other players that were coming through at the sort of same sort of time as you from the year, but year below, year above, etc. With Paul Armstrong and Errol Telemack, and obviously Paul Abbott, Mark Duckett, Adam Furness, Jack Midson. There was a core group of you there, wasn't there?
There was. I mean, like I say, when FCO first started, you can go right from the beginning. That you had people like Jeremiah, Scott Cretton, Martin Young. These were massive breaks for us as Stevenage boys. We grew up in Stevenage, we went and watched Stevenage, and then when you start seeing these people from Stevenage actually get the game, you're thinking, well, I could have a go here. Like this, I went to school with these. I know these people.
Yeah,
you can have a game. Whereas before, you were looking at it thinking, don't know any of them. Like these are players that play at a ground where they serve burgers. So wow, like that was always it for me. Like if you played at a ground and you served a burger, you've made it. Don't worry about getting paid for it. Don't worry about
Fair
spectators.
enough.
If you
Yeah.
ser- if you served a burger or a pie, you've made it in football. But yeah, like I say, then when we was in FCO, we had a guy called Malcolm Allen as a
Yes, I
coach,
remember Malcolm. Yeah, yeah.
uh, and he done wonders for all the young lads.
Mm.
There wasn't
He was
single
ex Newcastle, wasn't he?
Newcastle, Watford,
Yeah.
Norwich,
Yeah.
Millwall, obviously a
Hmm.
Welsh international. Um, but as a coach, there was anyone ever come close.
Yeah.
He understood football. He understood what you had to do to get to a certain level, and he pushed and pushed and pushed until you got to it. And if you didn't, he'd explain what you needed to do, and then push and push again. And really, he was the main reason why a lot of us did get into the first team. He got us in. He opened the door. He went, "These boys are ready to play reserve team football," which obviously disappeared.
Yeah.
But for us, that was like the next step up. You was a first year in the FCO, then you was a second year FCO. Then you had a chance of playing the reserves, and then the next step for the reserves is first team. So,
Yeah.
and he really, really pushed that. Like, if you was good enough, you'd go up and up and up until you was in that first team.
Hmm.
So without him, it wouldn't have been as successful as it was with all those players coming through. And we did have a really good core group of players. I mean, you missed one out, David Redderton. He was in
Yeah.
our age group, and
Yeah.
obviously he's gone on to do unbelievable stuff in a coach.
Mhm.
Obviously, Palace first team coach for a while. I
Yeah.
think he's off abroad now, coaching abroad. So
Okay.
he's done amazing. But yeah, like I say, we had people come through, like even like Sir George Boyd.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The FCO system got set up, and Malcolm took it by the horns and just run with it and said, "Look, well, I can get players to play in the first team." So, like I say, hats off to him. Paul Fairclough was another one. He pushed it. Without him, obviously, the School of Excellence and FCO wouldn't have existed. And
Hmm.
then, like I say, you wouldn't have then had the chance of getting someone like Malcolm in to really have a good go at trying to feed a load of local boys into that team.
Yeah. No, and that's obviously, massive, isn't it, for local guys to come through into the team and to have a stamp on it as well, because obviously, you know all about the local area. You've seen it, we've watched games there and watched teams be promoted and everything like that, and you know what the club's about and what the club want to do and the direction they want to go in.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's taken a massive leap forward since Mr. Wallace took over.
Yeah.
Obviously, when I first started going down there, we had obviously Victor Green, and he got a lot of stick for reasons that I was obviously too young to really understand.
Hmm.
Um, but when I first started playing in the youth team, Victor Green was still there. And I realised quite quick that he got his way when he really wanted to.
Right.
If he had an idea, it happened, um, and he pushed it to the as far as it could go.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Wallace come in, and he's just gone, look, this is a bigger club than it actually potentially like was at the time.
Hmm.
And he just pushed it and brought all these places. I mean, when I first started training with the first team, we were training up at Richmond Park under these floodlights that were horrendous. You couldn't see nothing.
Well, yeah.
Um, and then obviously every other week you were stepping in dog poo up there, and you were like, what is going on? And then
Mm.
Mr. Wallace took over and he brought Shepherdbury Park,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
changed that into a pitch, and then brought Bradbury End, and he said we've got this plan and that plan, and I'm going to do this and going to do that. And you're thinking, well, we had this guy called Victor Green. He done that for years and years, and nothing really happened. And fair play to him. He's moved that club on so far. It's ridiculous.
And Phil, obviously, he played a massive part in the last few years as well, hasn't he? With the sort of struggles and issues that the club have faced through the COVID pandemic and the relegations, etc., where somehow we managed to keep ourselves up by the skin of our teeth, really. And Phil was a massive part of that.
Oh yeah, like I say, the small dealings I ever had with him and Bob Makin that come in,
Yeah.
I dealt more with Bob than with Mr. Wallace, but
Yeah.
they both come in with an idea that Stevenage could potentially be a league team, and we were always this big team in the conference that was never ever going to get promoted because it's just what we did. We stayed there. You'd have like the likes of Rushden Diamonds. They'd come in and they'd go up, and then
Gloucester
you'd
Rovers
take
and
them Red Bridge, and
Boston and teams like that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, they'd all of a sudden they get like an influx of money, and then they get promoted, and you're like,
Mm.
what's going on here? Like we were the favourites this year,
yeah,
and this team would get a shed load of money, and you look at it, and obviously the chairman would go, "No, we're doing this the right way.
Mm.
This is how we do it." We obviously they were never going to just go crazy just to get him into the league, and I think he actually does love the club. Like when you see what he's actually done and what he's actually doing, he's doing it for all the right reasons. Because
yeah.
if he wasn't, then I don't think Stevenage would still be in the league. That's a definite.
Yeah, no, I totally concur and agree with that, to be honest, as well. When, there has been rumours in the last few years that he was maybe going to look to step away in, the next year or two. So that's going to be, if that does sort of materialise or anything like that, it'd be interesting to sort of see what happens next and the direction that the club go in. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I say, the small dealings I've ever had with him, I would guarantee you that he wouldn't just walk away and not put the club in the best possible position to
Yeah.
carry on going.
Yeah.
Obviously, what the person behind him does after that would be a whole other thing. But he was always fair with his comments and always fair with how the club was going when I was there. So I would never say that he would ever just go, "Do you know what? That's it. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
You deal with whatever comes behind."
Yeah.
I would definitely say he come across as a person that would always do what was right for him as well as what was right for that football club.
Yeah, I think you're right as well, and I think that that's been proven over the last few years, where the club's been sort of very well within its means in regards to player side of things, and even potentially like the manager side of things as well, where he's gone for some unproven names rather than going big. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're there. He was the one that brought Paul Fairclough back, which I remember when he came back, it was like the Messiah return. It was a bit like Kevin Keegan return to Newcastle. It was ridiculous. And I remember him coming back thinking, is this a good thing or not? But Phil Wallace understood what the club needed. It might not have been the best appointment, as in there might have been better managers about, but I don't think the club at that time needed a better manager. They needed something else. And Paul, when he brought Kevin Howes in, they brought familiarity back to the club, and rather than being this team that was going to be promoted every single season, they brought in someone that understood the area, understood the club, understood the culture of what was there before, and have another go. Unfortunately, it never ever worked, and it would have been fantastic if Fairclough had actually got Stevenage into the league, because he was such a legend when he was there the first time. The second time, obviously, didn't work out as well. But yeah, it would have been nice if he was the man to actually got him into the league.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that as well. And we'll touch on some of when you were coming through. You obviously played a few games for the senior team as well. And obviously, can you tell us anything about sort of how your time with the senior team went, and what memories you've got and recollections you've got?
Like I say, I remember my first training session. That, like I say, these players that I'd watched. Luckily, like I say, I run around after all of them for a year before my training session, doing the boots, doing the kit. So when you step up, I was like, oh, this could be it. And then I remember I didn't play at all in that first season. And then I come back for this after getting my first contract with the first team properly, so I weren't part of FCO anymore. I was actually a first team player. I remember that first pre-season thinking, this is amazing.
Because in that pre-season, we played Tottenham and we played Arsenal and stuff, didn't we? So
so I think the first pre-season we had, I think it was Sheffield Wednesday and Arsenal were our two big pre-seasons. And I got like 10 minutes at the end of the Arsenal game. But it was unbelievable, like to have these proper teams. They weren't like 11. I mean, that Arsenal team that went on to be Invincibles.
That went on to become Arsenal Invincibles, I think, wasn't it as well?
Yeah, it was. I remember the team. I mean, Thierry Henry. It was a bit of a joke we had with Smudge. Because we had a guy. I don't remember him. Nathan Bunce,
Yes, I remember
centre half.
Bunsey because Bunsey was
Yeah,
there twice. He was there obviously when you lot were there, and then he was
yeah,
brought back when Wesley came from Farnborough as well. Yeah,
yes, yes. So when Bunsey first turned up,
yeah,
him and Smudge played centre half, and they had
mhm,
Dennis Bergkamp and Thierry Henry up front.
yeah,
And Thierry Henry had literally the season before had ripped it up. It was his first real good season in the Premier League, and
mm,
um, we was looking at it thinking, is he going to be that good? We've seen him on TV. Is he going to be that good? And I think he scored a hat trick after about 23
yeah.
minutes.
I know it
Um,
was really early on. I remember I was there. I was sitting in the main stand, and I was like, just it's one of those
yeah,
moments where you kind of don't know what to say. You kind of you're very much
no, and it
you're
was,
very much in awe of those players, and you're just like,
yeah, and
yeah,
you're like, wow, this team is unbelievable. Like,
mm,
but the team they had, like, I remember it when their first 11, it was Seaman and goal. They had an unknown left back called Ashley Cole. I don't know
yeah,
what he would have done in his career,
exactly, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
he played left back. Then you had Tony Adams and Martin Keown centre halves,
yeah.
and then I'm sure it was Lee Dixon.
I think he was.
I
I
don't
think
think
he was.
I don't think he went on and played that much that season, but he played right back. And then you had Ray Parler,
Yeah,
Mark Overmars, and Freddie Lundberg. There was someone. Oh, Vieira. How can
yeah.
I forget?
Patrick
We had
Vieira as
Vieira
well.
in the
Yeah,
middle of the
yeah,
park.
yeah, yeah.
And then you had Bergkamp and Henri up front.
And then
And like I say,
the second half
I
team
was
consisted of like Sylvain Wiltord and Carnu and guys like that. Yeah,
can't he come on in the second
yeah,
half? And I remember him
yeah, yeah,
dropping Smudger on his bum.
mm,
He went off in the corner and started doing these tricks, and Smudge
yeah,
went one way, then went the other way, and then come the other way, and then fell over. And we were sort of sitting there thinking,
yeah.
this is ridiculous. And he scored an absolute worldie as well, Cardew, in that game.
I remember it. Yeah, I do
I
remember him
remember standing on
scoring.
the halfway
Yeah.
line. I was standing on the halfway line watching it,
Mm.
and he sort of went, I can't, I think it might be Chrissy Taylor in goal. He's gone round him, and it's so tightly angled. He's just put his foot on the ball and then bent it in the corner. You're
Yeah,
just thinking,
yeah, yeah,
this is unbelievable. But yeah, like I say, that first pre-season, we had Sheffield Wednesday and Arsenal.
mm.
Um, and then obviously I went out on loan to Baldock, went
Yeah,
on loan then to Harlow. So it weren't a great season for me in terms of getting in the first team, but just being in and around and gaining experience, men football and all that, it was great. And then that
yeah,
second year, which was a better one for me, I remember that we had West Ham in the first pre-season game, and I
yes,
didn't
yeah, yeah.
play. Um, and then I used to wear a Tottenham shirt underneath all my training gear and my actual playing shirt.
Okay.
Um, it was just a good luck thing. It was a tatty old T-shirt that I had, and Glenn
Yeah.
Hoddle was in charge at Tottenham at the time,
Mm.
and I remember getting all excited, thinking Tottenham were coming up, and obviously I hadn't been involved in the West Ham game,
Yeah.
and I remember the gaffer coming over and saying, "Oh, you're a big Tottenham fan, aren't you, Bridgie?" And I was like, "Yeah, obviously, yeah, of course I am." And he's like, "All right, yeah, you know worries." And I thought, "Oh, he's going to tell me I'm not involved again." And
Mm.
we was doing like these that pre-season. We done like one game in the morning, one game in the even in the afternoon. And the game in the afternoon was like the bigger game, and in the morning we'd play either the youth team or their reserve team.
Right. Okay.
And
Yeah.
and I thought, I'm going to go off and play like I don't know some local team down the road, and then I'm going to have
Mm.
to come back and watch it. But it's still good. We're watching it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the training session, the gaffer come over and went, "Oh, you're going to be involved against Tottenham." I was like, "Really?" And I remember running home because I lived in Sheffield.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
obviously we'd finished at the ground, and I ran after training. I ran all the way home from the ground to tell my mum that I'm going to be playing against Tottenham.
Mm.
And she was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be brilliant." And then I remember just standing in a tunnel, and that Tottenham team again, like obviously nowhere near that Arsenal team, but you had the likes of Tim Sherwood, Darren Anderton. We had Les Ferdinand up front.
Yeah.
Um, it was an unbelievable team, and you had who was the other one? Gus Poyet, because he
Oh, of
scored a
course.
worldie free kick.
Yeah. But that was that his first game for Spurs, wasn't it? I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, and it was the only. I think it's still the only goal Stefan Freud ever scored for Tottenham
Oh, really?
against
Against
Stevenage.
Stevenage.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah. Which ain't good. Seeing as he never ever shot, and the only goal he ever scored was against Stevenage. But
Yeah.
I remember coming out thinking, "Wow, this is unbelievable." And then obviously getting a chance to see Glenn Hoddle at the end, and then I remember saying to the gaffer, "Thanks for that." And he went, "No." He said, "You're part of this team.
Mm.
You work hard. You'll be in." And that's how he always was. So, and like I say, that was great. And then obviously getting my debut that year, I think it was Hereford.
Yeah.
that I played, and that was great. I remember that, and then we had a couple of away games that I got invited up to. Said like, you come with us, you're on the night overs and
Yeah.
everything like that, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
being involved with it, and then getting your odd 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, and thinking this could be it.
Mm.
And then unfortunately, Paul left, and um, I was sort of in that bit where obviously I've known Paul on and off really since I was 13 years old, and I think he
Yeah.
understood that it was my club, and
Hmm.
so I was always going to be about what he was about as long as I proved myself. And then
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the new manager come in, and it was all about getting in the league rather than being what players were going to be in around the squad. And I remember him bringing in John Michel Seguer.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and Kirk Jackson and guys like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they all come in, and we was thinking, what's going on here? And then everyone started going out on loan or just disappearing. We had like Neil Illman.
Yeah.
He was scoring goals sort of 10 weeks before he got just released, and
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember going to see the manager, and he went, "Look, I've got someone like Neil Illman that can't get a game.
Mm.
I'm not going to give you a game. It's up to you what you want to do." I was sort of
Yeah.
sitting there thinking, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here type
Uh-huh.
thing. And but it's just what it was, and that's just how football is. And but yeah, it was always my club, and it will always be a club that I hold dear. It's just that unfortunately it never really worked out.
No, that's understandable. And then, of course, we said about some of the games that you played in there, and then obviously you moved down to Olsey, wasn't it? After that as well, and you had a bit of time with them.
Yeah,
And also, like I think you had a couple. Was it Hitchin as well? A couple of other
yeah.
local
So
teams. Yeah.
Hitchin, where I played most of my football, I
Mm.
went to Wolsey straight after Stevenage.
Yeah.
Again, I got told I was going on loan, and I thought, oh, it's another loan deal, going to Wolsey on loan. And I remember turning up there the first day, and I spoke to the manager, Nick Ironton, and he went, "Oh, I've signed you because I think with you we can get out of this league." And I sort of looked at him and he say, "What do you mean you've signed me? I'm on loan." He was like, "No,
No,
you're here
signed on a
permanently."
permanent deal. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, am I?" He was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, okay. All right, yeah, I'm in then."
Yeah.
Thinking he's lost in translation somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, and Nick was great for me. After a couple of weeks, I sort of realised that actually
He's
this was
ex
happening.
Stevenage as well. He played for Stevenage, didn't
Yeah, and he was old school as well. He
he?
was one
Yeah.
of those old school guys that he was horrible
Mm.
when it comes to football. What a nice guy. But when it comes to football, you knew he meant business. He told you exactly how it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I can't. There weren't many people I met that weren't nice in one way or another in terms of football, and that all come from Stevenage. You meet people with Stevenage, and as soon as you've been associated with a club, every club you go to, they always treat you with some respect because you'd done a bit of Stevenage, and it had that, especially in non-league football. If you'd done something at Stevenage, then obviously you had something about you. So, like I said, again, it all comes back to them, and they're very thankful that they gave us a chance.
Yeah, and then obviously we'll touch on things from sort of since the promotions and stuff a little bit as well. When do you still get a chance to follow the club at all now? And do you still?
I always look out for the scores, always look out for the results, always see where they are in the league. My father-in-law, he always comes around and drives my wife mad that we talk football rather than anything else.
Yeah.
And it always comes up in the conversation how they're doing, how they're not doing, are they in trouble or no, they're not. They're going to push for promotion.
Flying at the moment, like right up there, top of the table almost, or joint top. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a manager there that understands this league. He understands what gets out. I mean, you'll probably hear 50% of the people that ever talk about him that he's a horrible, nasty type guy. And then you'll see the other 50% go, do you know what? He can be horrible or nasty or whatever he's going to do.
He wins your football games.
He wins in this league, and he gets promoted out of that league.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it comes back to the chairman and everyone else behind the chairman that they've managed to get him at the football club. So it means that they want to get promoted, because you wouldn't get him in here for any other reason. You want to be promoted. you bring in this guy. It's what you do. He's like I say, he definitely splits opinion on the way he works and the way
Yeah.
that he comes across. I
Hmm.
mean, I've never met him. I bet he's a nice guy. Like I say, most people in football are, but I don't think you need to be a nice guy to everyone to win that league. And he's definitely, obviously, got a balance and knows how to do it because he's done it more than once. So
Yeah, nine.
fingers
I think
crossed he can
what
do it
was it he
again.
said at the start of the season when we did the meet the manager? I think it was 9 promotions on his CV. So it says it all. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. Like I say, you don't get that far by just doing things nicely and treating everyone well. But at the same
yeah,
time, you don't get that far by treating everyone horrible. So I think he's definitely a guy that knows what he's doing. Which again, you talk about the managers that have been in at Stevenage over the last 10 years. Half of those have come with CVs that look like they played decent, pretty football.
yeah,
Half
yeah,
of them come in with CVs because they've done something in football.
yeah.
Um, but it doesn't mean you get promotion. This guy comes in with promotions on his CV, and if you're going to want to get promoted, they're the sort of people you go for. You don't have to go for someone that's won the championship because it's not League Two football.
No, you're right.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you just need someone that knows what he's doing, and like I say, fingers crossed he does know what he's doing, and it could be a successful year this year for Stevenage.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Obviously, the club were very very good throughout the COVID pandemic and stuff. You know, going out in the local area and putting a lot of effort into doing things like that as well. When sort of showing the family side of the club and the tight knitness and the closeness of the club, and it'd be really nice to reward those people with success on the pitch as well. Now, yeah,
100%. Again, it all comes from all the backroom staff. They all know what this town is and wants, and if they could give it to them, they'd give this town a football team that was successful higher up the league. But at the same time, unfortunately for Stevenage, is it's too close to London, and you're going to get the fans that go into London and watch the Tottenhams, the Arsenals, the Chelseas, West Hams,
yeah.
and even if you come out further, you've got Watford that are doing well. You've
Luton of
got
the
to find the
Championship
fans,
now.
but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, but it's still a well supported club, and as long as they can keep pushing, people will keep going, and if they can get up that league a little bit higher, then hopefully more fans turn up. Which then for the chairman, I know he'd be well happy if he could have a few more coffees in the park.
Mm.
He'd be able to then finance even more, and I think he's proven in the past if they get promoted, he's not afraid to go. Do you know what? We'll stay in this league and push again. So hopefully this this team could go on and do something. And like I say, Stevenage deserve to be a lot higher than what they are in terms of what they've had in the past,
Yeah.
their their uh, their moments that they've had.
Oh, we had
FA
some
Cup.
massive moments, FA
Oh,
Cups and trophy
yeah,
finals and, promotions from the conference and League Two playoff final. And we've had some
yeah,
huge moments and we've had
yeah,
a few rough years. And, that's why it's so bittersweet to have, the season that we're having at the moment. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. And again, this club could quite easily be in the conference now.
Mm.
And once you
Yeah.
go down there, I mean, you're looking at conference now. Half those conference teams are league teams. You look at
Yeah.
them, and
Oh, there's
they're
absolutely loads
proper
of them.
football
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, when we were there, I say this is late '90s, early 2000s.
Mm.
They were full of conference teams.
Yeah.
You'd want to go up, and then one would come down. And
Yeah.
that's how it was. And you had the same 20, 21 teams every single year. You look at it now, like I say, half those teams when I was younger, they were proper football teams. They were teams that were professional teams and good professional teams. And that you don't want to be going back down because going back down will be horrendous to try and get back up because it's so competitive now. It's ridiculous.
No, I completely agree with that as well. And I think, I don't think we'll be in any danger of relegation or anything this season. We can certainly look up at getting promoted or playoffs at the very least, etc. But yeah, I think we're going to probably wrap it up there in a minute. Other than sort of, I suppose, just kind of final question is sort of, it's been what 21 years. So
Yeah, cheers for
what have you
reminding me.
been up to since then, and what are you sort of up to these days? Yeah.
Well, since it's then, obviously, you said it went to Walsey. and then I had 6 really good years at Hitchin, which when I first went there, it was like
You were
playing for
coached
Tottenham and going to Arsenal.
you were coached by
Yeah.
Mark Smith, weren't you? He was coaching at the time at Hitchin.
No, so when I went there, Robbie O'Keefe was there.
Oh, Robbie. Okay, yeah.
So Robbie was there, and he gave me a chance. And then he left, and we had then Kerry Dixon come in and Darren Sultan. And then I went away for a year to Aylesbury, and then Darren Hay took over.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Remember when Daisy phoned me and said, "Bridgie, I'm taking over Hitchin. Do you fancy having a game?" And I went to that first game thinking, "Oh yeah, this could be good." And we was on the coach back. I think it was Yedding or something like that. Or what? No, not Yedding. Tiverton
Okay.
away. It was a massive journey, miles away. And on the coach back, he said, "Bridgie, I'm going to sign Smudge. What do you think?" I said, "It's no brainer. Get Smudge in." He went, "Well, I'm going to phone him up now.
Get it signed right now." Yeah.
Get it done. He said, "I'm going to phone him now." I said, "Phone him now." And he phoned him up, and I said, "Give me the phone. Let me talk to him." I said, "Smudge, come over, please. Come over." I said, "Let's just have one last hurrah." I said, "I love playing with you, Smudge." And he was like, "Oh, Bridgie, don't be like." I said, "Smudge, come on, let's do it." And he did. He come over, and I mean, I said before, Smudge was one of the nicest guys I've ever met in football.
Yeah.
He helped me massively when I first came into the first team, and to getting out that last bit of Hitchin when he was sort of getting towards the end of his career and still could do it. His calves couldn't, but his brain could. But yeah, it's good. And then obviously after that, you stop playing football. I'm a carpenter now, so just doing that. And then obviously now I've got my son. All my football gets drained through to him. I love watching him play. It's brilliant. It's something that when he was younger, up to the age of 8, I never thought he would do. He never really showed that interest of playing in a team, and then he did. And honestly, I love it. It's the one game that I love watching. I love watching him play. I love seeing him during the game with the passion and desire to really want to do it, and then at the end being frustrated or being excited.
If he wins or loses,
it's brilliant. I couldn't have been prouder of him.
No, I love that. We'll wrap it up there, mate. Thank you very much for doing this. Yeah.
No problem at all, Mike.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate that.
No
Thank
problems.
you.
Have a good one. All the best.
Cheers, mate. Nice one. Bye.
Bye-bye.